Welcome to this video on configuring and managing firewall rules. In this video, we will discuss the basics of firewall rules, their importance, and how to configure and manage them effectively. Firewalls are an essential component of any network security infrastructure. They act as a barrier between your internal network and the outside world, protecting your network from unauthorized access, malware, and other security threats. Firewall rules are a set of instructions that determine what traffic is allowed or blocked from entering or leaving your network. These rules are based on a set of criteria such as IP addresses, ports, protocols, and applications. In this video, we will cover the following topics: understanding firewall rules and their importance, creating and configuring firewall rules, managing firewall rules effectively, best practices for firewall rule management. So, let's get started with understanding firewall rules and their importance. Firewall rules are the foundation of network security. They are used to control the flow of traffic between your network and the outside world. Understanding how firewall rules work is essential to creating effective security policies. Firewall rules are based on a set of criteria that determine what traffic is allowed or blocked. These criteria include source IP address, the IP address of the device sending the traffic; destination IP address, the IP address of the device receiving the traffic; port number, the port number used by the application sending or receiving the traffic; protocol, the protocol used by the application, such as TCP, UDP, or ICMP; application, the name of the application sending or receiving the traffic. Firewall rules can be configured to allow or block traffic based on any combination of these criteria. For example, you can create a rule that allows traffic from a specific IP address to a specific port, or a rule that blocks traffic from a specific application. Firewall rules are evaluated in order, from top to bottom. When a packet matches the rule, the action specified in the rule is taken. If no rule matches the packet, the default action is taken, which is usually to block the traffic. In the next segment, we will discuss how to create and configure firewall rules. Creating and configuring firewall rules can be a complex task, but it is essential to ensure the security of your network. In this segment, we will discuss the steps involved in creating and configuring firewall rules. Step 1. Determine the traffic that needs to be allowed or blocked. The first step in creating firewall rules is to determine the traffic that needs to be allowed or blocked. This can be based on various factors such as the type of traffic, the source and destination of the traffic, and the security policies of your organization. Step 2. Define the criteria for the firewall rule. Once you have determined the traffic that needs to be allowed or blocked, the next step is to define the criteria for the firewall rule. This includes the source and destination IP addresses, port numbers, protocols, and applications. Step 3. Choose the action for the firewall rule. After defining the criteria for the firewall rule, you need to choose the action that should be taken when the traffic matches the rule. The most common actions are to allow or block the traffic, but you can also choose to lock the traffic or send an alert. Step 4. Test the firewall rule. Before deploying the firewall rule, it is essential to test it to ensure that it is working as expected. You can test the rule by sending traffic that matches the rule and verifying that the action specified in the rule is taken. Step 5. Deploy the firewall rule. Once you have tested the firewall rule, you can deploy it to your firewall. It is essential to ensure that the rule is placed in the correct position in the rule set to ensure that it is evaluated correctly. In the next segment, we will discuss how to manage firewall rules effectively. Managing firewall rules is an ongoing process that requires regular review and updates. In this segment, we will discuss some best practices for managing firewall rules effectively. 1. Regularly review firewall rules. It is essential to regularly review firewall rules to ensure that they are still relevant and effective. This includes reviewing the criteria for each rule, the actions specified in the rules, and the position of the rules in the rule set. 2. Remove unnecessary rules. Over time, firewall rules can accumulate, leading to a bloated rule set that can impact performance and security. It is essential to remove any unnecessary rules to ensure that the rule set is lean and effective. 3. Document firewall rules. Documenting firewall rules is essential to ensure that they are understood and can be easily reviewed and updated. This includes documenting the criteria for each rule, the actions specified in the rules, and the reason for the rule. 4. Use automation tools. Using automation tools can help to simplify the management of firewall rules. These tools can be used to automate the review and update of firewall rules, ensuring that they are always up to date and effective. 5. Monitor firewall logs. Monitoring firewall logs can help to identify any security threats or anomalies in network traffic. This includes monitoring for any traffic that is blocked by the firewall, as well as any traffic that is allowed but may be suspicious. In the final segment, we will summarize the key points covered in this video. In this video, we discuss the basics of configuring and managing firewall rules. We started by understanding what firewall rules are and why they are important. We then discussed the steps involved in creating and configuring firewall rules, including determining the traffic that needs to be allowed or blocked, defining the criteria for the firewall rule, choosing the action for the firewall rule, testing the firewall rule, and deploying the firewall rule. We also discussed some best practices for managing firewall rules effectively, including regularly reviewing firewall rules, removing unnecessary rules, documenting firewall rules, using automation tools, and monitoring firewall logs. By following these best practices, you can ensure that your firewall rules are effective in protecting your network from security threats and that they are regularly reviewed and updated to ensure that they remain relevant and effective. Thank you for watching this video on configuring and managing firewall rules. We hope that you found it informative and useful.